All right, well, happy January 15th, everybody. A very important date on the NBA calendar, a very important date for a number of players who are now officially trade eligible as we are within about 3 weeks, 2.5, I guess, of the NBA trade deadline. A number of players are now eligible to be traded. None more notable, I would say, than Jonathan Kuminga, the Warriors forward whose future has been a topic of discussion for several months now. Kaminga, of course, was discussed in sign and trade talks last offseason. He eventually signed a team-friendly deal, 2 years, $48.5 million, team option on the second year of that deal. Things have not gone well for Kaminga this season. After a pretty good start, good 10, 12 games, he has fallen out of the Warriors rotation. He has developed some palpable friction with Warriors head coach Steve Kerr. He has not played since mid-December and has seemingly been counting down the days till January 15th. And sure enough, on the 15th, there was a report from ESPN that Kaminga has made a trade demand from the Warriors, hoping to get dealt before February 5th. So let's look at the market for Jonathan Kuminga, because there is a market for Kaminga. It has not been a great year, as I noted. But he is a 23-year-old wing, 6'7", shown the potential to be a two-way type of player, multi-positional type of player. And when I talk to scouts that have watched Kaminga over the years, they can see a guy that if he gets to a different situation, he is going to break out in a way. Up the scoring average to the mid to high teens, shooting numbers will go up. He's been in a tough situation in Golden State. He was originally part of that kind of two-tiered plan, two-tiered stage that the Warriors were in, where they were trying to win championships with Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, before Klay Thompson, while rebuilding at the same time behind Kaminga, Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski. That didn't really work out, and that cost Kaminga some development with Golden State. But there still is a lot of potential within Kaminga. Still 23 years old, still a belief within organizations that he can be a really good player. Now, what teams are going to be interested in doing a deal for Kaminga before the deadline? Well, I think there are a lot of teams that will be interested. Who's the most serious suitors that are out there? I think you have to look at the teams that were talking to Golden State first last offseason. You had Sacramento, which was very interested in Kaminga. In fact, if the Kings were willing to, or actually if the Warriors really were willing to take back Malik Monk in a deal, it likely would have happened already. But Golden State at that time, not interested in Monk, not interested in the 2 extra years he had left on his contract. Phoenix, another team that was interested last year, the Suns. Maybe their thinking has changed over the last couple of months. They've had a surprisingly successful season. Maybe they don't want to break up that team, but that was a team that was interested in Jonathan Kuminga. If you expand the field, there are a few teams that you can look at. I think first, you've got Dallas. The Mavericks, as we've talked about, dealing with a situation of their own. Anthony Davis out for at least the next 6 weeks with a hand injury. The Mavericks are still looking to talk to teams about a Davis deal before the deadline, but they could be interested in Jonathan Kuminga, who fits the timeline that the Mavericks are eventually going to be operating under. You've got Cooper Flagg, 19 years old, likely rookie of the year. You know, he's the future of that team. Jonathan Kuminga, 23, he fits into the timeline of Cooper Flagg. And you can see a decent fit. Cooper Flagg, Kaminga, both 6'7", 6'8" type of guys, wings. Look, successful teams are built on these types of players. You look at Boston, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, 2 6'7", 6'8", versatile wing types. That's the way the NBA is trending. So the Mavericks could certainly have some interest in a player with that type of skill set. New Orleans, another team that I believe the Warriors would love to deal with. New Orleans, they're not going anywhere right now. They're rebuilding. Eventually, Derek Queen, Jeremiah Fears, maybe Zion Williamson, they will be part of the long-term health of this, or long-term future of this team. I think Golden State would love to get their hands on one of the Pelicans' wings. You've got Trey Murphy III, long time one of the NBA's best shooters. Herb Jones, terrific two-way player. I think Golden State would love to get their hands on one of those two guys. I don't get the sense right now that New Orleans is looking to do a deal for either one of those guys who are both young and both players that can be part of the Pelicans' future. But if anything changes in the next couple of weeks, that's a team to keep your eye on as well. The wild card in this mix, I think, is the Brooklyn Nets. And we've talked about Brooklyn before in this video series. Would the Warriors be interested in Michael Porter Jr., who has had an outstanding year in Brooklyn, been a fringy all-star type, career highs in scoring, shooting 40% from three, and has shown that he can fit in with other star players? You may have to get a third team involved to get the Nets interested, because it stands to reason the Nets would want some draft capital back in return. And Golden State, I don't think they're averse to making a deal that involves their own draft picks if it gets them back a needle-moving type of player. The Warriors, look, they're still trying to win. Steph Curry is still an all-star. Jimmy Butler, we know, proven playoff performer. Draymond Green has had kind of a down year, but you get to the postseason, Draymond's still a guy with a lot of experience. They want to do something with this group. And I don't think they're afraid to deal one or more of their first-round picks to go and get it. Does Michael Porter Jr. make sense for them? I don't know. I think we're going to learn a lot about that over the next couple of weeks. But Porter Jr., his scoring would be valuable, especially in those non-Steph Curry minutes. His ability to fit into a championship team, that would be valuable. He did it in Denver. So that's kind of a wild card out there. I think the Warriors would probably have to go into their war chest of draft picks to get a deal done for a player like that. But it's something that could be on the table over the next couple of weeks. One thing I feel pretty confident about, even though the Warriors don't have to do a deal involving Kaminga, they can roll this over to the offseason, exercise the team option and do it. It just feels inevitable that over these next 2+ weeks that a deal for Kaminga gets done. The well has been poisoned, and it's just hard to see Golden State getting through the deadline, bringing Kaminga back, and still trying to win without, with that distraction that Kaminga represents on the team. So I would expect Golden State to get really aggressive over these next days and weeks, try to get a deal done for Kaminga, and I would expect something gets done before this trade deadline.
Hit subscribe for more news, highlights, and analysis from the NBA on NBC.